After the successful start of Clamp with their first animated series, now we have a new series that goes deeper on the magical girl genre, using in their own way the more known elements of the genre. This is how we know the story of Sakura Kinomoto, a 10-year-old girl that lives with her father and her older brother Toya, whom they always take care of her and more since her mother died very young. One day, being alone at home, Sakura feels being called to the basement, where her father keeps the book called The Claw, which when taking it, almost all the cars that were locked inside fly away on the city. After happening this, the guardian of the book, Kerberos, is awakened, and when knowing what happened, he gives Sakura the title of Cardcaptor, who will be her duty to collect and keep the claw cards. For this purpose, she's given a magic wand that frees and seals the power of the cards, which they show specific skills according to their names, like the fly that lets her fly, or the wood that grows some woods. But this task won't be easy, because the cards have their own will, so many of them will cause mayhem on the city and they won't let be captured. Sakura is supported by her best friend Tomoyo, who is one of the few people that know about her magic and likes to film her, and with each card capture mission, she uses that chance to make her suits for each situation, becoming a variation of a magical girl's transformation and clothes. So we follow Sakura's daily life, facing her own personal problems while she is catching the cards, discovering little by little her own innate magical power, while maturing with the experiences of each day, meeting people related in many ways with the capture of the cards. The success of this series was very big, because even if the story is essentially simple, it's well exploited, developing in detail the character relations and the consequences of the magic with a little of comedy and contemplation. Besides, it shows a nice animation and character design and a memorable soundtrack. And in contrast to another series, the two movies that came from the series are well merged in the story continuity. At this series date, the magical girl ones have been most of them the source for derived toys and merchandise, and not in the opposite way. So Super Doll Lika-chan is a series based on a brand of very popular dolls in Japan, called Lika, which were the ones that won the market over Barbie. The story is about Lika Kayama, a little girl that doesn't know that her mother is the queen of the Doll Kingdom, a mythical kingdom that many people think it came from a tale. Lika is pursued by Scarecrow, which under the Demon Devil orders is trying to capture her, because, as the princess, she's the key to enter to the Doll Kingdom, which they want to take over. So when being constantly pursued and attacked by Scarecrow and his minions, Lika's grandmother, Nanae, gives Lika a bracelet, which when she's in danger, it alerts her, so she can wake one of the guardian dolls, that in her case is Doll Lika. There are 3 dolls in total that can be awakened by special pendants: Doll Lika, Doll Izumi, and Doll Isamu, and when waking up, their clothes change and they grow up to normal people's size, being able that way to protect the person they are under by the bearer of their own pendant, using their special weapons, which are a yo-yo, a baton, and a sword respectively. So as the story goes on, each doll will be waking up, meeting the persons that wear their pendants, who will play an important role on the fight to save the Doll Kingdom. This series is very simple, targeted to a child audience, mainly for little girls, which are the ones that like these dolls. Then they include, for example, the young man of which Lika falls in love, a pretty starring girl with her colorful accessory, and the magical girls, this time as transforming dolls that had pretty and colorful looks. Since when Magical Girl series not only were about them using casual magic, but their magic served a purpose, and the girls had a specific identity. There stopped to be series where the girls just were the classical witches that used their magic in their daily life. In this context comes out Ojamajo Doremi, a series where the protagonist, Doremi Harukase, which is a normal girl, wants to become a witch to have magic that helps her to be close to the boy she likes. So she finds Majorica's magic store, and when she discovers her identity as a witch, she's cursed, transforming into a magic frog. That curse can be undone only when Doremi becomes a full-fledged witch, becoming then her apprentice. As her apprentice, she's given the rhythm tab, from which she can take out her witch dress and her magical stick and broom. To be able to use her magic, in addition to the magical phrase, she spends colored magical balls which are sold, so she'll have to work on the magical store. It doesn't take much time when two of Doremi's best friends, Hazuki and Aiko, discover her magic, so they become Majorica's witch apprentices too. And to become full-fledged witches, they'll have to approve many witch level tests on the magical world, becoming each time more powerful, being able to perform harder, more lasting spells, except the forbidden magic, which are spells that cure physical problems or manipulate people's minds, having an adverse effect. This series displays its own graphical style with backgrounds that look similar to children's books illustrations and nice characters. With a mix of realistic and light storytelling, it follows the daily life of the girls and the people around them, facing many of the more common kids' troubles on the reality. This series had a lot of success not only with the child audience, but with all of the audience, when being a series very different and easy to enjoy, extending in another 3 seasons, 2 movies, an OVA series, and a light novel, adding more witches to the group, changes of clothes, magical items, and the kind of trade of the magical store. It also goes deeper on the characters' lives and how the magical world works. Here it is, the second series about a mysterious thief on the Magical Girls genre, which has many similarities with Saint Tail, mostly about the origin of her magical power and transformation that are linked to Christian mythology. The series protagonist is Maron Kusakabe, a high school student that lives alone since her parents are missing. Because of that, Maron has a lonely life, having only the support and company of her friend and neighbor Miyako, who is the daughter of the detective that is after Jan. Maron receives the power to transform herself into the thief Jan from the small angel Finfish, getting an item that is a mix of a crucifix and a wand, which makes her Joan of Arc's reincarnation. Jan becomes a thief after stealing and disappearing artworks that are possessed by demons that twist their owners' minds. As a result, besides being pursued by the police, she also faces a rival young man called Kaito Sinbad, who has similar powers to Jan's. But her relationship with Sinbad is complicated, changing between rivalry, distrust, and love, because Finfish, as her partner, once heard that he could be someone that works for the demons. This series, different to many of the genre, has a melancholic and dark tone when we see Maron's loneliness and despair, since she misses her parents and she has to fight demons alone. In addition to some deceptions and losses she suffers on the story. It must be noted that the story has a good character development and good twists, and a good soundtrack and a version in this genre of the fight between heaven and hell. Yubei-chan is a series that at first it looks like a samurai themed series, but underneath this, it's told the classic magical girl formula established by Sailor Moon. The story starts on feudal Japan, in which Yagyu Yubei, the famous swordsman, has been fighting against Ryujoji clan's ambition, resulting victorious. But after being mortally wounded, Yubei gives to his assistant, Koinosuke, a heart-shaped eye patch, which is the one that will transfer his skills to his successor, who is described in a suggestive way to his assistant. It's that way that after 300 years, with Koinosuke still alive, finally finding the successor as Jiyu Nanohana, a high school student that just moved to the country with her father who calls her Yubei. She refuses to be the successor and being called Yubei Yagyu, so she denies to use the eye patch. But after receiving the eye patch, she's identified as the samurai and is constantly challenged by the Ryujoji clan's members, being forced to wear the patch, transforming in a warrior version of herself, with all the combat skill and experience. When watching the way an episode goes on, it's clear how the magical girl's formula is used, showing up the enemies that were as the monster of the episode. She wears the eye patch to transform in her powerful identity, and defeats her enemy, releasing his or her mind of its violent will, as it would have happened with persons turned into monsters. This series has two 13-episode seasons, and it always follows a comedic and irreverent style, with no character taken too seriously. D4 Princess, it's a series where the main themes are comedy and action, with features of magical girl on many details in the series. This is the story of Doris Rirudou, a spoiled girl, daughter of a very rich family that has just got into the prestigious and huge Taito Academy. But because this is a boarding school, it will be the first time that Doris lives by herself, without the comfort of her easy life, without her servants, having to learn to be self-sufficient the hard way. Besides, in this story there are some girls that are called Panzer, who have the special skill of transforming, appearing a mechanized combat suit with many kinds of devices, weapons, and tools set on their bodies, which are unique for each Panzer. The Panzer fights in battles to decide who is the champion, and the Academy has a Panzer's combat arena, in which there are regular fights. This is then another challenge for Doris as an inexperienced Panzer, learning to fight and improve in the use of her drills that has on the hand and the head, and because of them she's laughed at and underestimated by the other Panzers, thinking that they are very impractical. Here the Magical Girls team is mainly on the double identity of the girls when transforming and using their powers as their combat weapons, and the fact that the Panzers are only girls.